Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. I have just Bob with me today. Say hello, just Bob.
Hello, just Bob.
Okay,
not
thank
me.
you. That was
Oh,
Jim.
sorry.
Jim is with us, and so is Matt. So we don't have Madeline today, but we do have Matt on the phone. So he's got a picture of Harry Mudd because Harry Mudd is going to feature in one of our episodes today. So we'll get started. First, we'll go with some news of Discovery news. It is coming to CBS, not CBS All Access, regular old CBS. So starting here September 24th, they're going to play the first season of Discovery on CBS weekly, and we'll see how that plays. The only reason they're probably doing that is because of COVID and the fact that they can't film like any other shows, and so there needs things to fill their schedule. But I think it's a good promotion for CBS All Access, a good promotion for the other seasons of Discovery. They will 3 weeks after that have Discovery season 3 available on All Access, so it's probably a win-win for their team. And it's the reason why we're going to start doing one episode a week. So this week we're going to focus on episode 5, but the guys weren't here. Some of the guys weren't here, Bob and Jim, for episodes 3 and 4 discussions. So we'll probably talk about 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll focus on one episode a week, because I'll start airing these on my other podcast, my Buck Benny podcast, my Judy Garland podcast, because this ties in so well with Judy Garland. But anyway, just so they reach a bigger audience, because CBS is a bigger audience. So hopefully we'll air our review of an episode right after it plays. So there'll be an encore presentation of these earlier podcasts that we've done on the show, if that makes any sense.
I wonder if
I like Jim's look of, huh? What is he talking about?
No, I wonder if they're going to continue doing that, or if it's just going to be a one-time thing with the first season to try to get people. Are they going to keep going every year now and just have it run 2 years behind on the the regular CBS? And
I think it would completely depend on how many people watch it. I mean, if it becomes a hit, I can't see how they would possibly not do that. If it becomes a huge hit and tons of people are watching it, and it's the number one show on television, which I don't think it will be, but let's pretend it is, they might even air season 2 right after season 1 to create a full season worth of, because essentially a season is 22 episodes usually. They only have I think there was 14 or 15 that first season, maybe only 13.
That's true.
Jim, do you remember?
I don't remember the exact number, but
yeah.
I mean, it was
somewhere in that ballpark.
Same type of thing. Yeah, it wasn't like a full 26 season.
No,
it was a typical. That's pretty typical for streaming season.
Correct.
You don't even really have to call
since they're airing on CBS, they could, like I say, put season 1 and 2 together and have 30 episodes, which would be like longer than a normal season by a little bit. But I doubt they'll do it. My guess would be they would do the 15 episodes, and then when they run out, if it's been really popular, probably start showing them yet again to finish out this season, or stop them and bring on some other show, and then the following fall of 2021, I guess that would be, do season 2 like Jim's saying, and then each year maybe do one season and stay 2 years behind.
Well, and if it's popular for them, I mean, it's essentially free.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, they maybe got royalties and different things like that to pay, but it's there's no production cost for it. It's already, in their vault, ready to be run. So the overall cost
and on top of that, it also, like you say, it's free. All the revenue from it is additional revenue that they can say, oh, well, now we have 2 revenue streams on this. So the next season we can even put a little more into the budget and have it even a higher budget. So I invite that.
Yeah, it's just a matter, I guess they have to look at it and figure out, the bean counters, I'm sure, are looking at it, and it's like, well, how much are we going to lose on people not signing up for all access, because now it's, they can watch it here, and then there's the question of how well will it do if the people that are the real big Star Trek fans already sign up to All Access to watch it, are they going to tune in to watch, episodes from 2 years ago? So, I mean,
Correct. I doubt many of us will tune into it because we've just seen these episodes, and seeing them with commercials in them is not so hot and things. So,
well, I mean, if you have All Access already, I mean, you can go watch them anytime you want anyway. So
exactly. So right. It'll be interesting to see what kind of an audience they find. Certainly, I will say people will probably be astounded by the production value, because it just doesn't look like a regular television show. It looks so expensive, like a film every week, that's got to have some impact, I would think. Anyway, so that's kind of why we're doing that. Let's get into episode 3, 4, 5, where we're at and things. So let's go with Jim and Bob first. Do you guys want to talk anything in episode 3 and 4 that was of interest to you? I mean, Bob, since we'll go to you, since it's your first time watching these, you get from episode 1 and 2, you get kind of the setup, and then you get introduced to the real cast. It's going to be the cast from now on in episodes 2 and 3. What did you think of episodes 2 and 3, Bob?
Oh, so I think I talked about 3 last time I was on.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I think, like I said, my only shock was having Jason Isaacs as the captain.
Oh, that's right.
Our good friend from Harry Potter. So I watched 4 and 5 this week because I was behind from last week.
Yeah, what did you think of 4 and 5?
Yeah, they were good. I think they kind of, like you said, the middle of the seasons wasn't quite as intense, I didn't think.
Right.
I thought the whole thing with the tardigrade was a good twist. I wonder what they were going to do with it.
Right.
I thought they were going to turn it into a weapon. I think I kind of got on 5. I kind of saw that somebody was going to inject themselves, but I thought it was going to be Michael Burnham who injected herself with the stuff to turn her into the Navigator.
Right.
And like we have Matt here as our good buddy, Mr. Mudd. That was a shock having Mudd show up. I hate to say he was one of my least favorite characters. I think I could do without Harry Mudd, but it was interesting to see him.
Well, which version of Harry Mudd can you do without?
I never liked Mudd at all, so I think I could probably do. I like the episode with the robots, but having Harry in it, I think it would have been actually better without him. I don't know.
Well, and when I saw him, I had to think in my head, it's like the timeline. So I'm thinking, it's like, okay, so in the original Star Trek, he was, this time frame. So how does that time frame tie into this time frame of Discovery? Actually, So it's like, is this before or after? And so all that kind of stuff was going through my mind.
Actually, I was thinking about that, about the whole warp drive, because this takes place before the original series, right?
Correct.
Because Pike shows up later.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
so now they don't have
the original series. I think it's happening. It's not like a lot of the Star Trek universe. It's hundreds of years before the other one type of thing. But this one's like they're almost in the same time frame within a couple of years.
But the original series, they didn't have the drive. What do they call it?
Well, this was the only.
Maybe they
had it. So
maybe they explain that later.
It feels like at some point they have to explain or demonstrate that this was kind of a one-off thing. They never find another tardigrade. They're never able to. I don't know where it's going exactly, but that maybe that's not a reproducible event, obviously, or else all the Federation ships would have this, and the Romulans would have stolen the technology at some point, and everybody would have it.
And Jim and I can tell you, because Jim and I are the ones who watched the whole thing. Matt and Bob are just experiencing it for the first time, these episodes anyway. That will all get explained. Some of it doesn't get explained 100% until second season, but they will explain how this all works and how the timelines. I think one of the complaints they got from I know one of the complaints they got from the first season was that they didn't explain how all this could possibly work and tie into the original series. Second season did a lot towards explaining it. I don't know if they already had that in the works. My guess is they did, but it could have also been a response to the fans saying, explain it. So they explained a little bit second season.
And all those letters you sent.
Yes.
All those letters you wrote every day to them.
Every day, the letter campaign.
Helped,
Yes.
I'm going to start writing one.
I wrote 3 postcards. I just wrote Paramount, and hopefully they got to them. I don't know.
Yes.
And,
one more comment.
Go ahead.
Raise your hand, Bob.
The Klingons are I think they wish they would have stopped at Worf.
Yeah,
they're over the top now. They're over the top now with the way the makeup and everything.
Yeah. That's the other complaint about this first season is the Klingons. And the Klingons this season don't do much for me 100%. I mean, they certainly are a big key piece of the storyline. It's just, to me, less is more. And just knowing that they're a battle with them and things, I didn't need to see all the intricacies of what's going on in the Klingons, but they decided to spend a lot of time there.
And then when they ate the other captain, they have this little thing where they talk about they're eating the flesh off the dead captain. Yeah. That was a little over the top for me, but yeah, anyway.
Jim?
I think, since they're trying, I think they're equating production value to having aliens that are very different and very ornate. I mean, you have some actor, you throw a prosthetic on him or something like that, and it's like, oh, look, I'm an alien. Yeah, I look just like a normal person, but I've got this brow ridge or something. I'm an alien. So they want to like make them really alien. So they went kind of overboard, and I mean, they were doing that with some of the later Star Trek movies. The stuff like that. The aliens or the Klingons were definitely looking, more and more, like wild monsters.
Yeah,
can't wait to see the Romulans.
Yeah, it's all good. But the other piece was, I thought I'd get the timeline a little straight, because it's important for Pike that we get the timeline straight. So the original pilot with Pike in it took place 3 years before Discovery, the first episodes of Discovery. And then Discovery takes place 10 years before Kirk's Enterprise. So because we know that it was 13 years before that, they mentioned on Star Trek 13 years ago is when the whole Spock and Pike episode happened, the menagerie. So there is that timeline to play with. So they do have a 10-year span to run Strange New Worlds. Now, of course, Strange New Worlds, a season of Strange New Worlds could supposedly happen in 6 months, and then you'd have 20 years to play with if you were in a season was 6 months long. But I think they're just going to go with each season's a year, and so they could go for as far as 10 years supposedly before the whole we hit Kirk and so forth. Is that Jim? Is that what you get from it, or something different?
Yeah, pretty much. It with Discovery, they come in and they have Pike, and you get Spock, stuff like that in the later episodes. So to me, it seems like it's even more condensed, because they're coming over from the Enterprise,
right?
At that point. So it seems like it's pretty close to the transition time between Pike and Kirk on the Enterprise. Within a couple of years there, pretty close to that time frame.
Yeah, because what they've already had the menagerie storyline, the cage has already happened before we see Pike, right. So that's Pike's history. But we'll get into that second season and stuff. But that kind of, just as long as you kind of know this happens like after Pike, before Kirk, while Pike's on the Enterprise. So this is the Pike time frame, but Pike is fairly recent to being captain of the Enterprise, but he does have reputation and so forth. So but that's second season stuff. Anyway, Matt, what did you think of Mud and the whole episode 5?
Well, I agree that Mud was not one of like a favorite character. I always just found him horrible and annoying. But I really enjoyed. I loved the cameo. I loved, here's a character from the original series popping up in what I thought was a better version of himself.
Great.
I liked Rainn Wilson's version of Harry Mudd a lot better than the original.
Who, of course, we all know him as the actor that is from The Office and Dwight Schrute, and so it's interesting to get him in a different role as Harry Mudd, and he does. I agree, he does a great job as Harry Mudd, and they wrote it more serious than certainly the original series treated Harry Mudd, so that's interesting. But Matt, you can keep going.
No, that was just my comment on him. As far as I was hoping to see him get beat up a little bit more. I was like, when does Harry Mudd get his beating?
Exactly. Yeah, he got out of it pretty well there. That's great. And then, what did you think about the other folks in the rest of the episode?
I enjoyed it. I'm glad they wrapped up the tardigrade storyline. I feel like it was a good time frame. It's like that was, if they kept it going another episode or two, I felt like it was something they might have dragged on more. I was glad to see that they didn't, as far as pacing and things.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a nice happy ending for the not really monster. The other thing I thought was absolutely great about this episode was that, as far as I know, was the first Star Trek F-bomb.
Oh, yeah.
I had to go back. I was like, I hit the 10-second back button real quick because I'm like, did she just say that was effing cool? And she did. I was oh. It's like, I think that might be the first F-bomb in Star Trek history, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I think it might be.
And then it was immediately followed by the second one.
Yeah.
So,
It was not that episode had a couple of them. I remember. Yeah.
I thought that was just kind of funny. He's like, no, she's right. It is effing cool.
Yeah. Jim, you and I watched the rest of the series. I don't think they have too many F-bombs in the rest of the series. I mean, every once in a while they pop up, I think.
Yeah, that just kind of came out of left field. I mean, it's definitely not something that they continue to do. The rest of the series, there's warnings for violence.
This is where you're missing the boat, Jim. You and I, since we've seen it all and they haven't. Oh yeah, they started having F-bombs left and right. There's sex scenes. I mean,
I don't want to turn people off. If they've got their kids wanting to watch it and things like that. There are concerns for small kids that there's violence and there's some romantic scenes that aren't really graphic or anything like you would see on a lot of things, but it's definitely not like a lot of shows where they seem to just like to throw in the profanity just because they're it's a streaming show or whatever, it's on Netflix or whatever,
because they can
and they can do it.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting when it comes to CBS All Access. I would assume they'll change the word, or else they'll have to pay some sort of fine. But
I'm freaking. They'll just they'll dub in freaking.
Yeah.
Can I say F-bombs on this podcast?
I wasn't sure.
No, we're not saying F-bombs on this podcast.
I thought I'd keep it clean for the kids. Ooh. Yeah. What I really appreciated was that it was Tilly that did it.
I know, exactly. It did not seem like something you'd expect from her character. But that's part of her character, though, is unexpected. Doing things that are unpredictable that you're not expecting, and you're like, oh, okay, that's all right. That's different.
I don't know if you guys talked about it. Did you talk about last week how they had been sued about the tardigrade?
No. You can cover that.
Yeah. So evidently there was a lawsuit where CBS had been sued because of the using the tardigrade in space, and so some somebody that wrote some story about tardigrades or something being in space. They sued CBS saying, "Oh, you stole our story and our ideas and having this tardigrade in space," and so that suit actually just got settled, and they ruled in CBS's favor, saying, it's like, it's well known and been documented in lots of scientific journals and things like that tardigrades are pretty tough. They can even survive in space and that kind of thing. And so they basically kicked that lawsuit out so that CBS didn't get in trouble for it.
I would have liked to have been there in that courtroom. My guess is, since they were suing CBS, that CBS would have like 15 lawyers sitting there, and then the other guy suing them probably has his one lawyer that he's paying as much as he can to get this thing done.
Yeah, he got him off some park bench or something.
Yes,
he had to climb on a park bench.
His cousin Vinny.
Probably a guy that normally is on television and does like when you get in a car accident, they'll help you regain money. And so he's going, I've never really done a tardigrade lawsuit, but I'm happy to try.
Hopefully he went with one of those, there's no fee unless we get money for you kind of lawyers.
I figure he probably just wanted to sue them, and then they would just, settle for a nuisance fee kind of thing. It's like, okay, here's $50,000, go away kind of thing.
Yeah. But I guess either they didn't do that, or he wouldn't accept and just thought he'd win the case, and so they went further because it was actually decided, which means that there was no settlement. Correct?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think he would have been way ahead if he just settled with them. You would think CBS would have given him a decent amount of money just to go away. Anyway, so where else we at? Jim, what did you think? I haven't heard you on episode 5 yet, I don't think, about what you thought of Mud and what you thought of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, Mud is Mud, and he's kind of a despicable person that, not the kind of guy that I don't know that anybody would really care for him. There are definitely a lot of introductions of things that will be more surprising later on in the
Right.
season that came to play in this particular episode.
Yeah.
That later on will be.
It was laying some groundwork. Yeah.
Yeah, it was laying some groundwork. You may not realize it at the time, but later on, it's going to play.
Well,
a very
to
big
me,
part in
at the time when I first watched this, I was like, oh, okay, this is more of a standalone one-off episode. Because we'd had essentially a two-parter for sure to begin the series. And then it was followed by the tardigrade, which was essentially another two-parter episode. And then this is the first one where I went, oh, okay, maybe they're going to do some single standalones, because it certainly didn't feel like, it felt like it had a beginning, a middle, and an end sort of thing. But like you say, almost every episode, even if they feel like a standalone, is laying groundwork for future episodes. So the series really does have ongoing things that happen. And I think they do a pretty good job, in my opinion, of doing that. Because if you're setting things up, sometimes you can get too into setting things up. A good example of that, I suppose, is the second Avenger movie. They're laying so much groundwork for so many different, the next Avenger movie, the Thor movies, the Captain America, they're laying groundwork all over the place, and so it tends to lose. And they're introducing the Vision and lots of things and Scarlet Witch and so forth. That you tend to lose. Your audience has more trouble just enjoying that piece, because it just feels like there's a whole bunch of explaining going on, too much. I think Star Trek does a good job of doing it little by little by little. We get a few characters here that are introduced, and then some more characters that are introduced, and then we find out different things about them, different revelations as it goes on. I would give it high marks in that area, because I think that's a hard tightrope to walk between making an interesting episode and laying groundwork for future episodes. Would you guys agree with that?
There was like 3 in there that I thought were odd. One was Mud. I think he's going to be back, but I don't know, because you guys have seen it.
Yeah.
Second was they spent this weird, huge amount of time on the Klingon captain when they shot her in the face. I don't know. Maybe she hasn't come back, but there's something. It seemed like there's something there. I don't know.
Why did everybody else disintegrate instantly into green goo, and she just kind of got a sunburn or something?
I don't think they actually hit her. I think he hit the bulkhead next to her and kind of disintegrated part of the bulkhead, and the flash and then maybe the molten metal or whatever burnt her face like that.
And then the other one was
that episode on my phone, so I might have missed some subtlety.
Sorry, didn't mean to.
Why he didn't just shoot her again while she was laying there, I don't know, but
Foreshadowing.
And then there's
Star Trek.
There's the guy that was in the prison with him. I can't remember his name.
Ralph.
Ralph. Yeah, I thought he was going to be I thought he was going to turn out to be a spy, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah. It is going to be weird, and I think Jim would agree with this. I did not expect Harry Mudd to become a regular, nor be second in command of the Enterprise. But you just never know what's going to happen on these things. So
well, when he did that mutiny and they flew to the Death Star,
yes,
I didn't see that coming at all.
Well, that's why I picked Chewie to be on this episode with me, because this actually is where Harry normally sits. So with Chewie in the further adventures, that's actually going to be aired both on Disney Plus and on CBS All Access, because it'll be a crossover.
And I don't want to have any spoilers, but if you look, see, Harry Mudd has that mustache, and he really, really let it go. And secretly, Chewie is Harry Mudd. He has just let his hair and his mustache grow.
Boy, I should have said spoilers ahead of this. Boy, we are just letting everything out of the bag now. Boy, we're gonna get people angry at us because future things we're spoiling away. But okay, that's all right. Now,
I'll be quiet now.
Do we anything else anybody wants to discuss about any Discovery stuff from episode 1 through episode 5 where we're at?
I guess I'm curious as far as foreshadowing things. The engineer's little look at the end. I wasn't quite sure what look he's going for. Was that like a sly and devious? Was that mischievous? Like I'm curious as to where that's going.
I can see that. And Jim and I will not tell you where anything's going.
I appreciate that. I just when we were on the subject of, groundwork and stuff, I'm like, what the heck was that? I'm like, because sometimes you can tell, like, oh, he just gave an evil sneer, or he's rubbing his hands together evilly, but it was like, what even was that look? So. Well,
have we found out he's a Romulan yet, or has that not happened yet?
No,
I don't think that's happened yet. So.
Just now from you. Thank you.
but to tell you that how that maybe kind of ties in later on, that kind of wasn't really my favorite story arc of the series. So we'll see what you think about it once it
turns out he's a Skrull, huh?
Super. Yes, exactly. Man, we got this down.
I'm seeing how the conversation's going now.
Now, season 3 of Discovery, I believe they take on Thanos. Am I correct there? We believe. I think that's the big baddie in the Star Trek universe now. Now he's out of the Marvel universe. He's materialized over on Star Trek. Anyway, I guess we'll close up our talk on Discovery. I hope everybody's going to enjoy it and watch it on CBS. We want it to have huge ratings. That would be awesome, because I'd love them to keep putting it on CBS, because I want to keep the shows being produced on CBS All Access. We'll segue over into then Lower Decks. I did want to mention, because I was just, I don't know, it just hit me again this week of just how nice it is to have Lower Decks and to have Discovery and to have Picard that are so completely different from each other. It's not like, because I was remembering back, I was going, okay, when we had the last big era of Star Trek, you had Deep Space Nine and Voyager and Next Generation things, but they were all in the same timeline. They were all like together. It's really interesting to have a series of episodes. You're essentially going to have 4 series in 4 different timelines going on soon, because you have Picard that is, what, 20, 30 years after Next Generation. It's essentially the same, that the actors have aged and things. And then you have Lower Decks. It takes place, I believe, at the same time as Next Generation. Jim, is that the impression you get from it?
Yeah, that's kind of hard. They throw so much stuff in there from, all the different stuff, it has to be like pretty late in the game of everything, I would think.
Right. Maybe after Next Generation.
Yeah.
The styling. So I don't know in the broader Star Trek universe, is there ever been a resolution to the Borg? Did they ever finally destroy them or anything? I don't know that there was any solid case. But
well, in First Contact, were they? I can't remember. Were the Borg mostly destroyed at that point, or just that group of Borg destroyed?
Yeah. Well, and that kind of gets addressed in Picard a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a question: did it destroy all the Borg everywhere, or did it, was it just that collective part of the Borg?
The collective. But yeah, because I just for time frame reference, and just the visual cues seem very Next Gen, obviously, and then in the opening credits scene, there's a scene where they fly through a battle with the Borg, and then kind of course, back out of it. But
right.
I think, didn't they take out the Borg Queen? Wasn't she like running the hive? Didn't that like destroy the Borg?
Yeah, but in Picard they kind of addressed that, and really, I mean, they talk about how it didn't really take out all of the Borg.
Right. It changed them fundamentally in some ways, but yeah. And we'll get to that when we cover Picard, which we'll have to cover at some point. Who knows? Maybe we'll start covering Picard, and since we're dropping from Discovery being 2 a week to 1 a week, I don't know. Maybe we should cover those, but we'll see. Anyway, so I was going to say all the different timelines. So basically, you have those 2 timelines. Then you have the Discovery team that's jumped. How far in the future have they jumped, Jim? At the end of season 2,
wasn't it like 300 years or something?
I'm going to say it was a long time, so it's way in the future. And then
that's a spoiler.
It's going to take place at the same time as Discovery used to take place, but not where it's taking place now. The only other show is if they end up doing a Section 31 show, which it sounds like they're still saying they're going to do, then that will take place also in the same timeline as Pike, so that they could have crossover between Pike and Section 31, I would guess.
I think they're getting a bit greedy, but yeah.
Well, we'll see. I think what they wanted to do, because Pike and whatever it's called, Strange New Worlds, was originally not part of the plan, supposedly. So if you agree with that and you say, okay, that wasn't part of the plan, with them doing 13 episodes per series, if they did 4 series, that would essentially be a year's worth of entertainment, right? That would be it would fill up a full year. So every week you could have a new show, and that's what they want with CBS All Access. At least that's what they were saying they want, so that no one will turn off their subscription, so that they'll go, oh, there's another new Star Trek next week. Oh, another new Star Trek next week. But they knew they couldn't run one series 52 weeks a year and not burn people out. So they're trying to create all these series that take place in different timelines so that they're all kind of stay a little fresh. And I think that was brilliant to do that if you're going to do it this way. Now, having said that, now they're going to have 5 series. So it's definitely going to be enough with even some overlap during the year, because you're going to have more episodes per year than you're going to have weeks per year. At this point, it looks like.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, since they're running Lower Decks right now, maybe that's the one they run during the summer when they're going to have, not as good of ratings probably as far as people watching.
Right. Could be.
Although with streaming, you can watch it whenever you want, so it's not like normal TV programming where it's on during the summer, but you're out doing stuff, and so people aren't sitting in front of their TVs. So maybe I'm dating myself before the DVR and being able to DVR and watch it later on or stream it later on, that kind of thing. So
exactly, yeah, I agree. And then I just think it's interesting how I thought it was going to go this way. I was like, there's no way. Netflix's concept of dumping entire seasons in one shot is not, everyone was saying, oh, all the other streamers are going to do the same thing. And I'm like, no, they're not. Netflix does that because they have so many series that they can do that, and there's not really a huge problem for them. But everyone else that has a fewer series, 3 or 4 original series, they're all going to try and max out, and they don't want people just binging and dumping their channel. So it makes more sense for them to do it on a weekly format, more like a traditional network show. But like you say, Jim, at the end of the 10 weeks or 15 weeks, whatever it is, to show all those shows, they stay up. And so then anyone in the future can watch as much as they want. That's what makes it nice for like Discovery. Now we've got season 3 coming up that they'll put on 1 episode at a time, but people can enjoy all of season 1, all of season 2 at their leisure. So that's kind of nice.